We shall see. So this is lesson 3-2, page 149, 7th grade. Let's look at the very first example on page 150. Use proportion, find the percent. It says the basketball team statistician tracked the shots Emily made and the shots she missed during the last game. What percent of attempted shots did she make? In other words, how many of them went in the basket? So one way they did it, the first example here is they drew a bar diagram and they wrote a proportion to represent the number of shots made and the total number of shots. So number of shots made was 9 and out of 12 attempted shots. And you could set it up as 9 over 12 equals P over 100 and then try to solve for that. And then solve the proportion to percent of shots made, and they do that here for you, and you end up with 75 equals P. So she made 75% of her shots. Now, I'll point out that some of you probably already realized, well, wait a second here. 9 over 12, I could reduce that. What number goes into 9 and goes into 12 evenly? It's 3. How many times does 3 go into 9? 3 times. How many times does 3 go into 12? It's 4 times. And so hopefully all of you know now and recognize a lot of fractions. You can just automatically convert them, to a decimal or a percent. All of you should know that 3/4 is the same as 0.75 or 75%. Just like you know that 1/2 is the same as 50%. 9 out of 10 would be the same as 90% or 9/10. So some of these you can just take that shortcut. You wouldn't actually have to set it up like this. But there'll be more complicated ones where you might need to. Let's look at the try it for a moment. Camilla makes 2 over 5 shots attempted. Is the percent of shots she made more or less than the same as Emily's percent? That's up above. Well, 2 out of 5, that's the same as 0.4 or 40%. And again, you can set it up as 2 over 5 equals P over 100 and actually do it that way. But I think most of you know that if you just divide 2 by 5, you're going to get 0.4 or 40%. And so Camilla made 40% of her shots, and Camilla's percent of the shots made is something Emily's is. Yeah, I don't understand what they're asking there. It's kind of worded oddly. Don't worry about that. Not worried about this part either. Look at the convince me down at the bottom. It says a hockey goalie stops 37 out of 40 shots. What percent of attempted goals did she stop? Well, again, you could set it up as 37 over 40 equals percent over 100. And then do the cross multiplying and the canceling and solve for P. But you could also just simply divide 37 by 40, and you'll know what percentage that is. It's going to be close to 100 because that's close to 100% blocked. All right? So I want to know the answer to that one. I'll just put a little box right there. You can tell me what percent that is. Example 2, use a proportion to find the part. A plan to expand Megan's room will make the length of her room 175% of the current length. What will be the new length of her room? Draw a bar diagram to represent the problem and then write the percent proportion to find the new length. All right, so her room is 4 meters long, okay? But it's going to be expanded to 175% of 4 meters. So let me pull a stick here. let's see here. She's not here. Mr. Anderson. So the length of a room right now is 4 meters. What's 100% of 4 meters?
4.
4, yeah. Okay. 4 plus. Now the next question is, what's 75% of 4?
3.
3, yeah. So the new length of a room was what? 7 meters. Okay, so you could just do that in your head. And a lot of these, you guys will be able to just do them in your head. Just look at them. You could go through the process of setting them up this way, and that's exactly what they did. New length, old length, P over 100, cross multiply, and solve for P. But some of these you can just look at it and you'll just know what it is. Example 3. So a nutrition label shows the percent of the recommended daily intake for nutrients found in the serving of soy milk. How many milligrams of calcium should you consume each day? All right, so remember, one way to look at this would be it's always part over the whole equals part over the whole. So what percent is the part? It's 20%. What would be the whole? 100% equals. It's 20%, but how many milligrams is that? And they give it to us right there. It's 260. 260. And we're trying to figure out the whole right there. So you could just call that X. Then you just simply cross multiply and figure out what that would be, and you'll end up with, what do they have here? 1,300 is the daily value for calcium. And the person that drinks this gets 260 of the daily amount. The try it down at the bottom, scratch out B, but let's look at A. Megan's room is expanded, so the width is 150% of 3 meters. So here's her room, and let's just call this 3 meters. So let me pull another stick here, and let's look at this. Mr. Karkit, what's 100% of 3 meters? 3 meters, okay? But now we're expanding it another 50%. And this is, again, one of those problems you could just look at and figure it out yourself. What's 50% of 3? 1.5. So the new expanded room would be another 1.5 meters. And for what's the new width? It's going to be 4.5 meters. Okay? So again, some of these problems are pretty easy. Number 1 on page 152. How does the proportional reasoning relate to percent? And so I underlined it. You can use proportional reasoning to solve the percent problems. You can write that down. Number 2. It says, why does one of the ratios in a percent proportion always have a denominator of 100? And the answer is, so you can compare the ratios to 100, so you can convert it to a percent. You can compare the ratio to 100, so you can convert it to percent. And you can scratch out number 3. I'm not worried about that. Number 4, circle that. I set that up. Write a percent proportion for the bar diagram shown. A percent proportion for the bar diagram shown. Yeah, I'm not really sure what they're asking. Looks like I just put 68 over 100.
That's what I bought.
Yeah, 68 over 100 or 68%. Unless they wanted you to reduce it, because both could be divided by 2. Yeah, I'll have to look at the teacher's manual. Got a question mark about that one. Not quite sure what they mean. Number 5 here, I did some of those boxes for you. I want you to do this one, but put in 100 here, because it's asking what is 2%. Use proportion to find each value. 2% of 180. And then for B, it says what percent is 17 out of 40? So P, and then that's over 100. And these 2 boxes, I want you to answer those. Yeah.
How do you get 100?
How do you get 100? Because that's the whole. If you go back to this here, it's always the part over the whole and the part over the whole. $70%. She ends up selling it for $1,800. Did she get what she wanted? In other words, is that 70% of 3,000? That's what they're asking. Kind of worded that the long way around the barn there. Number 7, next page. Circle this box here, 200 over 100. Number 8, 9 over 3,000 equals P over 100, and circle this box here. Number 9, a survey was given to people who owned a certain type of car. What percent of the people surveyed were completely satisfied with their car? So here is a pie chart. You can see that the blue is completely satisfied, the kind of purplish is somewhat, and the green is not satisfied at all. So what percent? Well, first off, in number 9 here, we're going to be dealing with completely satisfied, because they're asking what percent of the people in the survey were completely satisfied. Well, that's going to be 1,100. But 1,100 from what? Or of what? Well, you'd have to add up each of these, and then you're going to get the whole. And this is the part. And then from there, you figure out what the percent is. So you're going to add up all those, and you'll have the whole. And the 1,100 is the part. And that'll tell you, from there, you can figure out what the percent were completely satisfied. Okay? Yes?
So if you had like something like 180 over 100, something like that, and you decide to
180 over 100.
Yeah.
Okay.
How would you turn that into like a decimal? Would you divide the top by 100?
So 180, you're asking me what would be 180 over 100 as a decimal? You would divide, because this means divide. You would divide 180 by 100. So you would just set it up like this, 180 divided by 100.
Okay.
And then you'll get your decimal. All right, number 10, A and B. Circle those. 11. A, what piece of information is not needed to compute the bill after the tax and tip? And I put the tax was 7%. And then B, I want you to answer that. What was the total bill? What was the total bill? Scratch out 12, I'm not worried about it. 13, top page 154. Let's see. Marta thinks that about 35% of her junk mail, thinks that 35% of her mail is junk. She gets about twice as much regular mail as junk mail. Is she correct? And the answer is yes, because 35% is close to 1/3. 1/3 is 33.3 repeated percent. And so that's 1/3 of 100%. So 2/3 is regular mail. Circle 14 and 15. Man, I don't know how they come up with these names here. I have no idea how to pronounce that one. Hypatia. Okay, so what percent of the chapters has she read? So in the circle 15, scratch out 16, not worried about that. 17 is a stick. And to get the stick, how much did Stefan spend originally? That's the answer that I'm looking for to get the stick. 18 and 19, do those. I'm looking for the dollar amount right here. It looks like I set it up for you. X over 30 equals 140 over 100. How much did Nicole spend this month? Okay. And that's it.